The world doesn't owe you anything. Well, that's quite a statement to kick things off with.
It is stark, yeah. But the material you shared for this deep dive, it actually presents that idea as potentially, well, freeing, surprisingly.
Freeing. Okay, so how does that work? How does that become freeing?
Well, what's interesting in these sources is how quickly it pivots. It's like, okay, except you aren't owed anything, and that, according to some of this material, is the actual first step, the catalyst for creating your own opportunity.
Right. Okay. So let's unpack that specific perspective a bit. The one that starts with that really bold claim.
Yeah.
It argues pretty strongly, doesn't it, that expecting things handed to you, that's just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Exactly. It completely flips it. The focus has to be like 100% on what you contribute, what you bring.
And what are those things, according to this view?
It really zeroes in on internal stuff.
Yeah.
Your effort, your passion, your resilience, things like that. And it doesn't just frame them as, nice to haves. It says these are the actual raw materials, the things you build your life with.
So external expectations, they're kind of irrelevant, or maybe even get in the way.
In that view, yes. Harmful, even. It's all about that internal engine shaping your reality.
And this is where that piece gets, well, pretty pointed. It says life doesn't reward just waiting around, hoping.
Mm-hmm. No. According to this material, life rewards hustle. It rewards being adaptable, taking calculated risks. It's all about action, proactive action, often uncomfortable action, maybe.
Yeah, and it makes a really sharp distinction here, doesn't it?
It does. It explicitly says, abandon the idea of waiting for handouts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important we state this clearly. This specific source ties that expectation directly to, well, its words are, what the socialists want you to believe and make you feel entitled, always.
Okay, right. So we're reporting that that specific source makes that particular connection and argument against what it calls entitlement.
Exactly. It's crucial to frame it as that source's perspective.
Got it. So the core message from that one piece is really a call to action. Stop waiting. You are the architect. It puts all the power, all the agency right there with the individual.
The material you shared, it doesn't actually stop there, does it?
No, that's right. There's more.
We also have sources looking at the, let's say, the bigger picture, the context around opportunity. One piece, for instance, that it looks into environmental factors, societal structures.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Things that might affect whether someone even gets the chance to hustle or take risks, like the first source talks about.
Precisely. So while that first source really hammers on internal agency almost exclusively,
Hmm.
other parts of your material bring in the idea that the playing field itself, well, it might not be level.
So things like access to education or, social networks, systemic barriers.
Exactly, those kinds of things. This other perspective suggests they also shape opportunity. It's not just about individual effort, though that still matters.
So these different viewpoints from the sources, they're not saying effort doesn't matter.
No, not necessarily contradicting that. But they definitely give different weights. One says it's almost all internal drive. The other suggests, well, external circumstances create the landscape first, the landscape you apply your effort on.
Right. It challenges that purely individualistic idea versus maybe something more shaped by community or environment.
Yeah. It's a contrast.
So thinking about these different angles from the sources, the intense focus on being the architect in one versus the look at the external landscape in others, it makes you think, doesn't it?
Hmm.
How do you weigh those things when you're trying to build your own path?
So pulling back, what does it all mean? This deep dive shows really a spectrum. On one end, you've got this powerful argument for, let's call it radical self-reliance. Internal drive is key. On the other end, there's this acknowledgement of external forces, structures,
Really?
shaping the possibilities that are even available to you.
Okay, so as a final thought for you, the listener, building on these different perspectives, think about that really sharp contrast one source drew between being the architect through your own hustle and the idea of entitlement or waiting for handouts.
Mhm.
How does this specific distinction, especially when you view it through the lens of the other material discussing external factors, how does that make you think about your own approach, your approach to seizing or maybe creating opportunities?